It's Tuesday, November 12th, 2019. Markets just closed a couple hours ago. And as I was watching some of the business channels this morning, it is amazing how people are just drunk on the Kool-Aid. It's amazing the amount of propaganda that is being pushed to each and every one of you that you should be in these markets, that there is no threat. The economy is phenomenal. Nothing's going to happen. There's no recession ahead. It's absolutely careless and reckless how these people talk on these shows. I want to go over a couple articles today, some of them on CNBC, Zero Hedge, shtfplan.com. And there are people, believe it or not, out there who do know what's coming. And those are typically the people who are very wealthy. They're very sophisticated with how the markets work. They're very awake and aware of what's happening behind the scenes. Many would call them insiders. And why are we seeing so many insiders selling off their company stock right now? Things are so good. But I want to go into a couple articles with you today and just talk about why we need to be very awake at what's happening, because while people are drinking the Kool-Aid, why they're literally hypnotized with what they're watching on TV, hypnotized with what's happening in these markets. Dow Jones today was unchanged, but we are right at all-time highs across the board. And yet people have no ability to see the danger that is right around the corner. They are unaware and completely unawake to what is coming. Zero Hedge today. World's ultra rich preparing for market crash. UBS warns. This is an interesting article. And listen, don't take my word for it. Do your own due diligence. Do your own homework and do the research. A synchronized global slowdown with no end in sight has spooked some of the wealthiest investors around the world, according to a new survey from UBS management. UBS polled wealthy investors from around the world. They are all preparing for a significant correction in the markets, and they are preparing for that. Many of these people believe that it will happen by the end of 2020. I believe it's going to happen before the end of 2020. I think it's going to happen before the 2020 elections, maybe in the summertime. What do you guys think? Please comment down below. When do you think we are going to see this correction in the markets take place? I'd be very curious to know what you think. Comment down below. In this survey of 3,400 high net wealth respondents, 25% said they sold risk assets such as equities, commodities, and high yield bonds and have transitioned into cash. I totally believe we all should be holding a portion in cash and in precious metals. 60% of respondents expected to raise cash levels in the coming quarters. And how are they going to do that? They're going to be selling stock in order to raise that cash, put it on the sidelines, because they know the sales are coming. You know, this is why I say we should be buying gold and silver right now, because they're on sale. We shouldn't be buying paper. We shouldn't be buying stocks. We should be buying hard tangible assets when they're on sale. When these markets crash, that is going to be the time to use that cash and come in and buy this paper up, buy these stocks up, because they're going to be pennies on the dollar. These people are preparing right now. Question is, what is the average American doing? And the better question is, what are you doing? I know most of you watching this have been preparing religiously. I read the comments. Many of you unbelievably prepared and awake to what's coming. And we must take advantage of every day that we have as an opportunity to buy. Metals are getting crushed. It's a great opportunity to buy. Somebody wrote me today and said they're going to hold off till metals come down a little bit more. Nobody knows how far down they're going to go, but I'm trying to buy every month, sometimes twice a month, because here's the reality of it. Yeah, they could come down more, but what if something happens? What if a black swan event takes place while they're coming down? There's only going to be a couple places to run to, and that's going to be gold and silver, and there's not enough for everybody. Too many people want to wait till it hits a certain price. But the problem is when it gets too low, everybody's going to buy it. And if a black swan event or some cataclysmic financial event takes place, guess where everybody's going? As they find out that their paper is worthless, they're going to go to the two most undervalued assets in the world, gold and silver. Right now, you don't have to wait in line to get it. So you should be stockpiling the things that are on sale, not the assets that are overvalued like stocks and real estate. Gold and silver are on an absolute blue light special, and this is where you should be stacking right now. When the crash happens and the real estate bubble blows up, when the stock market bubble blows up, there's going to be massive opportunity. That's the time to take that cash or to convert gold and silver into whatever currency, or we may not even be accepting paper for gold and silver. We may just be trading across the board for assets at that point. So when things do crash, whether that's the stock market or the housing market or any of these other asset bubbles out there, we will either be trading hard tangible assets, gold and silver, or we'll be using cash to buy these things at pennies on the dollar. At least that's how I see it. Let me know what you think. So while some of the wealthiest people in the entire world are putting cash aside, selling stock, preparing for what they know is coming, what's the average Joe doing? What the average Joe is doing, he's probably just recouping from a Halloween party and getting ready for Christmas. Gonna take those credit cards and run them up even higher than they are now to go Christmas shopping. Most of these people haven't even paid off last Christmas's credit card, and they will be out yet again running up high amounts of credit, high amounts of debt in order to buy more garbage, more than likely made in China. Wow, the savvy and the sophisticated wealthy people are awake, and they're sitting back on the sidelines waiting for things to crash because they know the sales are coming. This is how we all have to think. We have to think like the elite, like the wealthy, like the central banks. Why do you think the central banks are stacking so much gold and silver? Why do you think so many countries are stacking so much gold and silver? Because they know what's coming. And when I see what's happening on the television today, how they're promoting this 12-year rally, this bull market, people are oblivious to just absolutely out of their minds to think that this is going to go on forever. And what nobody wants to talk about is how we got here. It's all man-made. It's massive man-made injections. And by doing so, we've created massive amounts of debt, and nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody on these television shows wants to talk about the $23 trillion in debt, the $1 trillion deficits. We're spending more than we're taking in. Nobody wants to talk about what's happening all over the world with uprisings. They don't want to talk about how half of this country makes less than $32,000, many making much less than that. Nobody wants to talk about that. All they want to. So as the media wants to continue to brainwash us, as our friends and family members tell us life is good, everything is great, even though they're living paycheck to paycheck and have enormous debt, what nobody wanted to talk about today, at least not on Fox Business, is this article on Zero Hedge. Manhattan's retail industry is imploding before the holiday season. It's a very interesting article, and it touches on reality, not fantasy. Across Manhattan's retail industry, rents have plunged on average 8% in the third quarter year over year. Declining rents indicate declining consumer traffic. A walk down Manhattan reveals streets overwhelmed with vacant retail shops. Bleecker Street in Greenwich Village is littered with vacant stores. It's all in the article. Manhattan's Upper East Side is facing a retail vacancy epidemic. This is one of the wealthiest places on planet Earth. More than 188 vacant shops along Broadway right now. That's 20% of Manhattan retail is vacant. And it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. SHTFplan.com today. Wisconsin's dairy crisis. We are losing 2 farms a day. Didn't hear that talked about on CNBC today. Didn't hear it on Fox Business. Didn't hear it anywhere. None of my friends are talking about it. Nobody I know is talking about it. But again, most people are talking about football, their newest vape pen, and cartoons. But here, I know most of you are awake and living in the real world. And this is all going to affect everybody. And these people who are oblivious to this, they are going to be taken by storm. And I no longer feel sorry for these people. Look, if you're one of these people, wake up today, start getting ready. This thing is going to be absolutely destructive. So as we're losing 2 farms a day, in the article, it goes on to say between 2016 and 2018, Wisconsin lost 1,200 farms. And I wonder who buys those farms up. Is it China? Is it some financial institutions? Who's buying up all these farms? I'd be very curious to know where they're going. The USDA saw a 6.8% decrease in farms across the entire country in 2018. I mean, between manufacturing and farming, which have got to be, each of them, the backbone of America, we're losing both. And this is really concerning. As I was watching Fox Business this morning, they had a couple guests on. And what really stood out is these people said that things have never been better. The economy's never been stronger. And there is no sign of a recession coming. I could not believe it. Look, I didn't graduate Harvard. I don't have a business degree, but there's no way that what they're saying is true. This economy is horrible. A recession, a big one, more than likely a Great Depression is coming to America. I don't need a PhD. I don't need a business degree to tell you that. I can look around. I can read statistics. I can read real news. I can drive around my county and see exactly what's going on. I can read the comments that you send me, and as you tell me what's happening in your areas. For about every 100 people who've told me how bad their cities, counties, or states are, there's about 1 or 2 that tell me how good they are. So the reality is things are heading in a very serious direction here. Zero hedge today. For millions of Americans in the middle of the country, it feels like an economic depression right now. This farm apocalypse is continuing, and it is getting much worse. From the beginning of the year with the floods to now the snowstorms and blizzards, we have to pray for these people. Without our farmers, America does not exist. It does not survive. The 1% are getting all the help at the very top. What are the farmers getting? What are you getting? What am I getting? There's a lot of people hurting, not just farmers, but their whole industry is being annihilated right now. But there's a lot of people in the transport business and trucking, all kind of businesses that are going through a depression, and they're not getting help. The 1% is getting all the help. Some say the economy is booming, but for millions of hardworking people in the Midwest, all this talk of coming recession is ludicrous, because these people are in an economic depression right now. Millions of people in the Midwest are in an economic depression as I sit here on this Tuesday afternoon making this video, as the markets are at all-time highs, as the 1% are getting richer and richer beyond imaginable, while 80 to 90% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. What's happening in the Midwest, especially with these farmers, debt is exploding. The suicide rate is exploding. Bankruptcies are exploding. And this is going to come to the rest of America, not just the Midwest. This is going to expand way beyond the Midwest. It's not going to just be the farmers. It's amazing how much news we don't get by watching the news. As I spent a couple hours this morning watching Fox Business and having everybody on the panel, all the guests telling me how great the economy is and how great the future is going to be. Nobody wanted to mention this. This was on CNBC. Dean Foods, America's biggest milk producer, files for bankruptcy. Must be a great economy. This is the Dells Base milk processor, who's been around forever. So we're talking about this farm apocalypse. Well, now it's affecting Dean Foods. CNBC, biggest milk producer in America, yet we're being told nothing to worry about. Another article on Zero Hedge, panic, pure panic, Chilean peso collapses. So it takes 800 Chilean pesos to equal $1 now. Let me ask everybody out there, do you think if you lived in Chile right now, you'd want some gold or some silver because your currency has quite literally collapsed? If you wanted to have an ounce of gold, you would need, if you were going to buy it in Chilean pesos, you would need 1,138,773 pesos for 1 ounce of gold. What would you rather be holding in Chile right now? An ounce of gold, an ounce of silver, or would you rather be holding on to a paper currency like the Chilean peso? I can answer that quite easily. Give me the precious metals anytime. This is happening all over the world. We see gold at record highs in 73 different countries. They're doing everything they can to slam these metals down. And this is telling you this is a great time to buy, and you should be buying it. And I truly believe that there's a good chance we're not going to even be looking at gold and silver in dollar value because there is no paper fiat currency that we are going to give up gold or silver for. We will trade them across the board for other assets like land, housing, automobiles, art, things like that. I believe there'll be a time where banks will be accepting precious metals. They're going to need them, and they will be accepting them to do business. You want to buy a house? If you have the gold or silver, you can do a transaction in gold and silver. That is a huge possibility. When we see what's happening now in Chile and many places around the world, what's happening to the currencies, do you really believe the US dollar is immune? I think there's been 3,800 plus paper currencies throughout history in America. None of them have survived. Why do you think the American dollar will survive when it's already lost 97% of its purchasing power? It's telling you it's on borrowed time. You better be holding real money. Protests have been taking place for weeks with rioting against the government over there because of the cost of living in Chile. Again, you have the top 1%. It's like this everywhere around the world. It's this top 1% that has all the money, and everybody else becomes a debt slave, or the currencies collapse and people are eating out of garbage cans or eating cats and dogs and zoo animals to survive, like Venezuela. I mean, they broke into zoos in Venezuela and ate the zoo animals to survive. That's after they ran out of cats and dogs to eat. Venezuela was a beautiful place at one time. It had a healthy, vibrant economy at one time. And how many people in Venezuela and Argentina never thought that this could happen to them? And here we are today in 2019. These places are collapsing, and America is collapsing, but people don't want to admit it. We're able to cover it up because we just print more money until we no longer can. U.S. stock markets up 200%, yet Illinois pension hold deepens 75%. Pensions are crumbling across America, and I know people that have pensions, and they're quite aware that their pensions are going to not be there for them, that they are going to collapse at some point, or they're only going to get a certain amount of what was promised to them. So maybe instead of 100%, maybe they get 50%, maybe they get 25%. But a couple people I know are very well informed, very smart, and so they are stacking as much metal as possible and hedging against that loss. So if things get to the point where we have massive pension collapses in America, that means that precious metals will go through the roof. So they're betting against their own pensions, and that's smart. And you should be betting against the U.S. debt, and you should be betting against the U.S. dollar because it's all on borrowed time. Not even the nation's longest running bull market has been able to save the state of Illinois. S&P 500 has tripled in value since 2009, while Illinois pension shortfall has worsened 75% during this same period. 38% of the pensions are funded in Illinois. Chicago, 23% of the pensions are funded in the city of Chicago. Kentucky, 34% of Kentucky's pensions are funded, and New Jersey, 36% are funded. If pension debt is growing this fast during a remarkable stock market with historical returns, what happens to the funds when the next recession hits America? And what happens if it's not a recession? What if it's a depression? Illinois owes $241 billion in state pension debt. What happens as more people continue to get the hell out of Illinois? Now Illinois has less taxpayers to enslave. Property values continue to go down. Jobs leave. It's big trouble. And we have to ask ourselves, we haven't even hit any trouble yet. What happens when we do hit trouble? I know people are going to write me and tell me that I need to stop scaring people. And I'm not here to scare anybody. I'm just here to tell you the truth, report the truth, and continue to wake people up the best that I can. I'm very, very concerned with this country. I'm very worried about America. I'm worried about every one of you. I worry about people I don't even know because I don't want to see people get hurt. I don't want to see people fail. I don't want to see people lose everything they worked hard for. I don't want to see people make the same mistakes that so many people made back in 2008. I remember 2008, and that was just a warm-up. 2008 never got fixed. Let me repeat that. 2008 never got fixed. It's much worse today. We just continue to stick Band-Aids on multiple gunshot wounds on this patient who is about ready to flatline. But let me just remind everybody, the debt is much bigger, the bubbles are much bigger than 2008. If anybody wants to tell me what got fixed in 2008, please do. I'm willing to hear you. But from everything I've researched and experiencing 2008 and researching and looking at the statistics of where we're at today, things are much worse, and nothing got fixed in 2008. We bailed out banks from all over the world, including right here in the United States of America. We bailed out automakers. We stepped in instead of allowing the markets to be free. We printed a crap load of money. We devalued the currency even more. We rewarded horrible behavior with multi-millions and billions of dollars to CEOs, financial institutions, and banks that should no longer be here today. You didn't get a bailout. I didn't get a bailout, but Warren Buffett got a bailout. Anyways, I'm going to close up with this. Zero hedge today. As insider sales hit record highs, Travis Kalanick dumps 20% of Uber stock. Travis has followed the same path of every Wall Street insider this year. Dump stocks amid concerns the longest bull market in equities could be nearing the end. And just as I started this video today, there is massive insider selling going on right now. They are getting out. Insiders are dumping stock at the fastest pace in 2 decades. You think that's a coincidence? Why do you think that is? Insiders have dumped $19 billion in stock in their own companies through mid-December. And we are on track for these insiders to dump $26 billion in stock in their own companies for 2019. What are they preparing for? Do they know something's coming in 2020? Do they know it's begun? Thanks for watching. Make sure you share this video. Have a great week. God bless every one of you. Talk to you very soon.